back in. So the main difference when we're labeling master ESS, buyer ESS, and ESS is that
Mm-hmm.
if it's an ESS, it's because it's a refinance. That means we've already it's not going to be it's going to stay within the same name, the same borrowers. So that's the ESS when it's a refinance. When we add a master or a buyer, it's when it's a purchase property. So on
I
our
see.
Calix point, if you remember where, let me start sharing my screen again.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember on our Calix point on bar information, on our loan summary, it tells us what type of loan and then what type of property it is, right? So, as well as whether it's a purchase or a refinance. So,
Yeah.
this one that I'm working on is a purchase. So, any settlement statements that master or buyer settlement statements that we get for this property, we're always going to put buyer or master. Now, the difference between the master and a buyer settlement statement, let me actually pull up the same one so that way you can see.
So whether it's primary, secondary, as long as it's purchase,
Yeah, so
um,
if it's a purchase, we're going to put master or buyer. The difference, if you see here, the buyer is strictly only our buyer fees. Our master is going
mhm.
to have two sections, the seller fees and our buyer fees. So that's the difference between the master and buyer settlement statement. Now, the difference between having to put master buyers on the settlement statement, whether it would be a purchase, in this case for these, or a refinance. If it's a refinance, all we have to do is just put ESS, the address,
Mhm.
and then the date it was issued to us. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever you see any settlement statement that has two sections with the seller and buyer, it's always going to be master. Now, I don't know if we've already sent you to update a final settlement statement. We also have, so the final settlement statement is going to be the same thing. We're going to have a master and we're going to have the buyer. So it's the same thing. The only difference here on the title, it's going to have final versus the estimated is always going to have an estimated. So that's the difference when we do ESS or FSS.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I guess none so far.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of works with what this week's training video is. That's why I had asked you yesterday what if you're having any difficulty still with renaming documents. Um, so I think what for the most part, um, the documents that I think you guys were struggling with were the bank statements and any asset documents.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to just
Yeah.
go ahead and show you different bank statement options, bank statements, because not all bank statements are the same, right?
Mhm.
So I just wanted to kind of go over different bank statement options, um, and a few other ones that I think you guys are kind of having a hard time. So our basic one is any main bank account from Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Those all pretty do look the same. You'll have the account number with dates usually at the top, and then we can always find a summary. Some accounts, if you've noticed, do have several accounts together. So anything
Mhm.
that has a bank name, if you see savings or checking or let me see, let's see, or any retirement, so any IRA. any of these, that you're always going to put bank statement, the bank name, account number, dates, borrower's name. Okay, so this is a Robinhood is like a stocks type of account. This one does have an account number here. Sometimes certain retirement ones don't have the bank account information. For example, the 401k, this one, but if you see 401k, it's going to be considered a bank statement, or anything that says an IRA, or Roth account. Those are going to be considered bank statements. This SoFi is a new bank account that's starting to come up a bit, but again, you see this one says savings here, right? So if you scroll through the account, it'll kind of give you a hint of what what the account is. The other one that I think you guys were looking at was the transaction histories. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this was not a good example.
As you said before about the combined account, we can actually separate the accounts, right?
Yeah, so when you label it, if it's combined together, you want to label, so it'll be bank statement, the Wells Fargo, and then just put the last four of all the accounts on the same one. So this, for example, this transaction history, um, it doesn't look like the Wells Fargo bank account that we saw earlier. It looks different, right? But if you see, it does say saving here. It does have an account number. Anything that's shows routing, it's most likely going to be considered a bank account. So this transaction history, it pretty much just shows all the transactions they did, whether they took money out, they transferred money, everything. This one is a quite short transaction history, um, but it can be pretty. This one can be pretty big. Usually, can be between 5 to 10 pages sometimes. But you'll see the
Mm-hmm.
different, um, I guess, the money being moved around. Okay, let me see if I can find another one that has the different accounts. Oh, I know which one. So, for example, this one, they have this account here, but if you see this, it's several different accounts that they have. So the way this is named, it has the bank statement. It should have been Wells Fargo, and then it separates each account that's within this statement here. And then let me see if I can find, there was another one that I wanted to go over. Do you have any questions with the bank statements before I move forward? Hello,
Hello.
Joanna?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, you back? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Do
I
you
got
have any
disconnected again.
questions? It's
I do
okay. Do you have any
apologize.
questions for the bank statements before I move forward? Okay, let's see.
Hello?
Hello, Joanna? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start going over these HOA docs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so these HOA docs, we have to request them when we are working on a condominium or well, mostly for condominiums. Um, so usually we will reach out to escrow and ask them if they have the HOA contact or if they can
Mm-hmm.
request these forms. Um, More importantly, the reason why we need the HOA contact is so that we can request this condo questionnaire. Depending on the or where we're submitting it, it'll look different, but we do need to get this questionnaire filled out from HOA management company, or if they have a specific person from the HOA, they will complete this questionnaire. So escrow, if it on purchases, escrow is usually our point of contact at the beginning. They will let us know who we need to reach out to get the this filled out, or if it needs to be filled out through a third party. But they will also provide us with these documents. So we do have to go ahead and put the HOA, the type of document that it is, and usually the property address as well. So anything that has the association, um, numbers that are budgets or fees, it's going to be considered an HOA document. So it has again, we're going to put the name of the document that it is, and it has the association here. Any balance sheet here, as you can see, it's repetition. It has the HOA name, right? So
Mm-hmm.
these documents are not things that we get them often. Um, Usually, like I said, it's going to be for our purchases, and it's only going to be for condominiums. Um, within this HOA, we also have to request master insurance. Um, Sometimes escrow will provide it. Sometimes we have to get it from the HOA person. So
Is it the master policy?
yes, the master insurance policy. Yes. So it's, for example, this one has it here. For this one, if we do get it, we also have to request it to have the loss pay updated, like we do with the regular insurance binders that we request. So for condominiums, we have to get both insurance policies, this master policy and the regular policy from the borrower. So you know how we've requested quotes and then we have you bind it? For condominiums, we have to request for this one to have the loss pay updated as well. And then let me see.
인컴이 되나요, 일단? 근데 일단은 그게 되는지 인컴 리밋이 있다. 카라파니까 인컴이 되겠지. 드림콜 오이랑 같진 않을 거 아니에요. 어떠라인 가드라인 저게 카라파는 다 동일한 거예요. 인컴이. 아니요. 드림콜이랑 약간 다른 걸로 알고 있어요. 근데 그게 아직 받은 게 아니에요. 영주권이니까 된 게 아니잖아. 된 게 아니죠. 그러면 우리도 렌더한테 물어보고 받는 게 낫잖아요.
Hello?
What is RCE?
So this RCE is going to be what we call the replacement cost estimator. So this one, we request it from the insurance agent when it's a single family home. So when we request for you to bind the policy and it's for a single family home, um, we have to request this RCE as well as the invoice. So when it's a refinance, we'll request for the paid in full invoice or the zero balance invoice. So usually on a refinance, it's already been paid for the year. So um, so it'll be so we'll request this. So this one, they do tend to look a little different as well. But anytime you see replacement cost or reconstruction cost, it's going to be the RCE, and then we would just label it with the property address. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much.
Okay. I think that's about it for now. If you do come up with any other documents that you think that you're unfamiliar with, um, you can just send me an email or through the chat, and then I can help you with letting you know how to name the documents as much as possible. But
Mm.
if you don't have any other questions, I think we'll go ahead and talk next week.
Yeah, sometimes I'm struggling with the dates. Just like for example, this document, there's no report date or statement date, I guess, and then the label requires date or the report date. So sometimes I'm struggling with it. So I don't know what.
Okay. So when on the dates, we're going to put it on any asset documents, income documents, the settlement statements. For example, on the insurance, we're going to go ahead and put the expiration date. So our master, for example, let me see. So for example, this insurance policy that we had updated, it's going to be the EOI, property address, and then the expiration date. So this expires July 10th of 2025. Our settlement statements is going to be the issue date. So
Mm.
on the settlement statements, we have several dates here, right? So the date that we want to see on the settlement statement is going to be the printed date or issue date. That's so that we know when this was created. So as you can see, this closing date, this is the date we're estimated to close this file. So we have to go ahead and put this date that it was when we received this settlement statement. On the pay stubs, we're going to put the period ending date. So we want to know when it's the last day they received their pay, not the paid date when they actually receive, but the last day that they're getting paid for.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
On
thank you.
the bank statements, we're gonna put the date that the last date the statement is for. So for example, this one goes from January 1st to, I'm sorry, June 1st to June 30th. We're going to put June 30th because that's the last date this statement is for.
Yeah.
Any other questions?